What's going on, my pedal-loving people? It's your old pal Sean Pierce Johnson here, and welcome back to Stompbox Saturday. On the Stompin' Block today, I am very excited to be telling you another lovely tale in Walrus Audio's ambient storytelling series. That's at least what I'm calling it. This is Fable, the Granular Soundscape Generator. Last year, I fell in love with Walrus Audio's first addition to this series in lore. I loved the way that it could very quickly and easily get you dreamy ambient guitar sounds. And Fable continues that trend, but there's a slight little deviousness to the proceedings in this one, incorporating some granular effects that sort of chop up your sound and sample it in really interesting ways to make for, well, really guitar sounds that a whole lot of players out there have not had access to. Again, Walrus Audio coming in hot and making music creation a lot easier for us. Now, if you're familiar with the controls of lore, they're pretty similar on Fable, but this does warrant a little bit of a control rundown. So let's go ahead and throw Fable up on the screen and talk about those controls and what we can expect from Fable. There are 8 knobs and 2 foot switches, and one of these knobs we can really consider more of a selector switch, a 5-way one labeled program. This basically is where you will select which effect combination and program, for lack of a better term, that you'll be manipulating with the other 7 knobs. We have our bypass foot switch, which turns the pedal on and off, but you can also use it as a momentary switch as well. Tap tempo, pretty self-explanatory, and this one actually does tap in a delay time because there are more delay effects built into Fable than there were on lore, but you still get some really cool time-stretching artifacts that are a lot of fun to play with. So now let's get into the controls that actually help us set our sound. We have feedback and regen, and these are connected to each of the DSP engines that are in Fable, essentially allowing us to feed more signal into each stage, and then getting back into this circular path that just starts to create whole big washes of stuff. It's really awesome. Then we have mod, a modulation that you can add on to the effects that you select with program. Now, when you turn the control, this adjusts the depth of the modulation. If you want to change the rate, press and hold on the bypass foot switch and turn the mod knob at the same time. Once you have the speed that you like, let go of the foot switch, and then you can adjust the depth to taste. The last knob on the top row is the mix control, allowing us to go from full dry to full 100% wet effects. Tone is actually more than just your typical tone control. It's a synth-style low-pass filter, so the sweep is very extreme and it can even get down to some really deep, low-frequency tones for just ungodly rumbles that really belie the fact that this is the Treebeard signature pedal and not the Groot signature pedal. Time does exactly what you think it does. It sets the delay time of the effects that are in Fable. And then finally we come to X. Now this essentially sets the sort of granulization of the effects that you have access to in Fable, sort of at its lowest potential, being more smeared, less choppy. But the more you turn it up, the more those micro granulizations start to happen. Things get choppier, things get crazier, and sometimes much more fun. Now, having said all this, I think the best thing to do with Fable is to do exactly what we did with lore, taking each effect program and coming up with a different sound that I feel is really inspiring, and just start playing and making music. And then maybe at the end, we'll do something a little bit special, so stay tuned. Let's start with program 1 and morph into the settings that I like for this one. Program 1 combines a reverse delay running into a reverse granular effect. So in terms of choppiness, you're gonna get a lot out of this one. So I'd recommend really working with that X control to find the balance of the granular effect that works for you. Round 2 combines your standard forward sampling delay and then runs that into an octave up granular effect. There's only one minor quirk about this setting, and that's that the time knob is not just going to set your delay time, it's also going to set the buffer size that the granular effect is going to sample from. So just be advised on that one. Now, when I dialed this up, I was thinking back to a song off my band's second EP called Fine Line. In the guitar solo, I really didn't want to go for your typical rhythm guitar stuff underneath it. I wanted something more ethereal, something a bit more orchestral, you might say. And this sound definitely brings that stuff to mind. So what I want to do is play you that part right now from that rhythm guitar part without Fable turned on. Then we'll turn it on and you'll see just how much it adds to this otherwise sparse rhythm guitar part. You know what, just for kicks, let's use this same setting, but we'll play the busier version of that part from the intro. Program 3 takes an analog style delay and feeds it into an octave down granular effect. This thing can get real doomy and real squirrely, so be careful with how you set things. But knowing me, gobs of gain and low octave are just part of my love language. So let's check out this sound first without Fable, and then we'll kick it in for a little bit of strength, as it were. Program 4 is something that Walrus likes to call grain verb because it's essentially two multi-tap granular effects, one running into the other and then each being fed back into the feedback path. Now there's some changes to the controls, so let me just go over those real quick. The feedback is going to set the feedback of that first DSP stage, and that's the one that most immediately gets fed back into itself. So you're going to want to play with that one a little bit to find the right balance. Regen's going to do that for the second stage of it. The time control is more about the time stretching effects of that multi-tap granular effect. So again, play around with that, but these have some cool audio artifacts that really, when you want to get into that dive kind of thing that Lore had, Fable has it too. This is the mode to do it in. Finally, we come to program 5, a forward delay into a random pitch granulator. All sorts of down and up pitch shifts get mingled with that granular sampling. It just makes things really choppy, really crazy, and just really lends itself to just some like simple, kick back, relax, and just emotive kind of ambient playing. In this case, feedback is the number of delay repeats that you get with the regen feeding things back into the DSP path. Then with time, that's also your delay time, but also that section of the buffer that gets then granulated that you then affect with the X control. And the X is basically the size of those granular effects. And both of those can also affect how quickly those pitch shifts happen. Ultimately, this is a setting that I could just really kick back with and improv on for a good long while. And something that almost full up on the mix control is just so much fun. So let's just play for it. And there it is, my friends, Fable, the Granular Soundscape Generator from Walrus Audio. I know that there's a lot of people out there that think this thing should be stereo, and I can sort of understand the point. But this is the way that I see effects like this. At a certain point, a density of an effect, how much things are going on in your sound, left and right separation kind of gets thrown out the window, and you just end up in this wash, which really, if you're listening in mono, it's kind of the same thing as just panning something hard left and hard right. But it doesn't get in the way of musical inspiration with this thing. It doesn't get in the way of creation. And that's the point of these tools. And that's what Walrus Audio is so great at doing. coming up with these crazy ideas in their head and combining things together in really easy to use pedals that anybody with really just a bit of experience in dialing in effects pedals can get something out of it very quickly. And that's my experience with Fable. I am so excited to pair it up with Lore and see what else can be done for it. But man, I think the Treebeard signature pedal is definitely an absolute winner. And I can't wait to see where Walrus Audio takes this series further into the future. But of course, all this just adds up to how I feel about Fable, and I want to hear your thoughts. Do you have one and a favorite setting? If so, let me know what it is in the comment section down below. Or if you have any questions about it, use the comment section for those too. And if you enjoyed this video in any way, shape, or form, I would love it if you supported me in my endeavors to make better guitar gear demos for players from all walks of life and genres. You can do so by doing two things. Clicking the subscribe button and ringing the notification bell is the easiest thing, but the best way and the way that we can stay in touch more directly is if you sign up for my email newsletter. Just go to SeanPierceJohnson.com/email, enter your first and last name and your email address, and you're signed up. You'll get an email confirmation in 2 or 3 days from your sign up, and not to mention you're also entered into future giveaways that I'll be doing on the channel in the near future. I want to thank you all for spending part of your day with me, and I certainly hope you have a great week ahead of you. Until we see each other next, my friends, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, wishing you all watching great tone, great health, and of course, happy stomping. Cheers, friends. God bless.